dishes outside. Now Roman jabs right, dribbles left, below the elbow, jumper, swish. Roman Erickson for 2. And it's a timeout. Coach Shumway in the break.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jake Hibbard, and it is Sports Night, brought to you by First Bank. That right there. How about that? A ranked win. Something to put your hat on. A nice job to the boys getting that victory over Evanston last week, and then rounding it up with a victory over Riverton on Saturday. Trying to get another victory over Jackson this weekend. We'll have that game for you on SVInews.com. We'll also have the girls game prior to that at 6 o'clock tomorrow on SVI News. You can also watch on the YouTube stream. And speaking of those girls, how about their win against Evanston in the game prior on Thursday? Overall, Evanston, despite not having a winning record going into last week, was the second best team in the Western Conference, and they had just knocked off a top 5 team in Green River the week before in impressive fashion. So Evanston, in their second year with head coach Roy Barker, really shown to start to turn things around, and then Star Valley came in, shut them down for a night. Despite being the first game of record of the year, Star Valley and Evanston actually met in their first game of the season, a win for Evanston. In fact, in the entire preseason schedule, Star Valley just had one victory, and that was over 1-11 Rollins. So I don't think the Western Conference had much of anything to expect out of Star Valley. But now winners of 3 straight, this team is starting to turn a corner that, coming into the year, as head coach Kate Erickson tells it, wasn't even on the anticipated path.
After we got beat up pretty good by Mountain Crest and Preston, we had to step back as coaches, and I felt that we also had to step back as a whole team in general and say, okay, we need to find out who we are. And the only way we're going to do that, step up our defense and then be in better shape. We had to get our crowd into it.
You got to step up your defense. You got to be in better shape. What do?
So we really conditioned hard. We called it a drill we called Syracuse. I got it from a previous coach, Coach Draney, and it is grueling. But I just feel that it's kind of changed our identity of who we are. Toughest players usually win unless they have incredible skill.
So what's the Syracuse drill? Well, the Syracuse Running Program dates back to the days when college athletes couldn't officially practice in the off-season. That meant basketball players couldn't touch a basketball. And you know who that really upset? Jim Boeheim. So Coach Boeheim didn't like that his team couldn't be game shape ready when the actual full workout started. So in order for him to get a leg up on the competition, he had some of his graduate students develop a program taking 5 years of men's and women's game film where they charted every time a certain player ran or slid to a certain spot in the floor. They compiled a list and wrote this program, which simulates a game. If you run this thing all the way through, it's equivalent to playing one full college basketball game. One team ran through a set while the other team rested. As soon as that set was done, now it's on to the next group. And don't worry, it didn't make sense to me when I saw this either. So let's take a look at what a set entails. You run to the free throw line, then to half court, then to the baseline, down and back, and then down to get the free throw line once more. That's the first box. Box 2, now you're going to the free throw line, but on a shuffle, then you backpedal to half court, go to the free throw line, then the baseline. Now on to the third box. Half court backpedaling, and then a shuffle to the free throw line. Fourth box, baseline, shuffle to the free throw, backpedal half court, and backpedal to the free throw line. Well, congrats, you're done, and you get to rest for just a bit while the other group does that before you get on to the next 5 sets. You can imagine how a program like this, run for a couple of weeks, completely changes the makeup of a team and their conditioning. But what were the results like once we got onto the court? Let's take a look at a few 8-minute stretches from the first time Star Valley took on Evanston and the second time. In this first matchup, Star Valley is playing with much less defensive pressure. This is the second quarter of opening day versus Evanston, by the way. And Evanston had 14 possessions in the quarter and was able to get a shot off in 71% of those possessions, or 10 out of 14. In particular, Star Valley gave up 4 layups in this second quarter, and their 2 steals led to just 1 point off of a turnover. Now let's jump back to last week and the win for Star Valley over Evanston. This is the first quarter, where we saw the pressure completely different for the defense of Star Valley. The first 3 possessions, in fact, all resulted in a steal, and there were 5.5 minutes left in the quarter before Evanston got its first shot off. Out of Evanston's 14 possessions in the quarter, they managed just 6 shots and made just 2, as well as going 2 of 3 from the free throw line. Star Valley also forced 5 turnovers in the quarter, and frustration probably played a part in Evanston's 2 unforced turnovers. So that was the first quarter last week. How about the fourth quarter with Star Valley down 22-21 with 8 minutes left? Well, remember that Syracuse running program? Look at how the Star Valley defense is still right up in Evanston's face and still pressing at this point in the game as well. Out of Evanston's 13 possessions in the fourth quarter, they managed a shot in just 8 of them. Star Valley had 4 steals, 2 coming from the full court press, and sealing the win for Star Valley. If you look at the stats after this game, it's pretty easy to tell the reason Star Valley won was defense.
I feel that getting on the ground, getting the 50-50 balls, being in better shape that we can full court press if we want to the whole game. I really feel that that's kind of created an identity, and when you create who you are, I think you can get more success out of it. And I really feel that we just didn't know who we were at the first of the year, and now we're starting to figure out who we are. I feel that we've created some identity there that we can start working on finishing around the rim. I feel that we've had to dig in deep in our bag of tricks, I guess you could say. But then it's been pretty humbling for the girls.
And I guess if you're going to have a humbling experience, might as well do it with a few wins. Let's take a look at what's coming up this weekend for sports in Star Valley. Tomorrow, we've got the Kearns Ice Oval packed with indoor track and field, and then on Saturday, they will be at Idaho State University. Basketball on the road tomorrow at Jackson Hole. The girls on SVInews.com at 6 o'clock, the boys at 7:30. Wrestling for the girls and boys in Riverton tomorrow and Saturday. It's the Ronthon. And that does it for me. Thanks so much. See you next week.